Thanks for checking out The Simple Man's Gospel, a podcast about the restored gospel of Jesus Christ for the everyday, imperfect, and simple Latter-day Saint. The views expressed on this podcast are the thoughts and opinions of the hosts and do not represent the teachings and beliefs of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Welcome back to The Simple Man's Gospel, a gospel podcast for the simple everyday Latter-day Saints. How's it going, Tom?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Welcome back. Welcome back. I am feeling particularly patriotic lately, so I've decided to fly an American flag in honor of how I'm feeling. What did we talk about last time? We talked about kids.
Yeah.
And I just decided that today we're going to talk about something patriotic. Are you feeling patriotic, Tom?
Sure. We'll find out. There is one thing I want to show. There's when you told me about patriotic, well, tell the audience what are we talking about?
So we're going to talk about the title of liberty and other events that happened in the Book of Mormon around that same time. So if you're not familiar, then you're probably not a Latter-day Saint, which is fine. If you want to know more, go read the Book of Mormon. I would suggest probably Alma
46?
chapters 45 through 60.
Yeah,
62, 45 through 62. But specifically 46, which is where the title of liberty is mentioned. Yeah. So what did you want to share? You said you're going to share something.
Oh, when you text me, Dave texts me if he wants to do something to do with patriotic and title of liberty. I thought about a scene from a movie.
Yeah, let's hear it.
It's two scenes, but I'm not going to show. One of them was actually more of an eternal perspective,
Okay.
which is Gladiator, and it's
Yeah.
when the beginning of the movie when he was talking to his men, and when the line he goes, "What we do in life echoes in eternity." So that's more of what you. Yeah, it's not, I don't know if that has to do with patriotic, but there's a scene in the movie Troy where the Hector was getting ready because Agamemnon's army is coming to Troy to that scene with Brad Pitt with his golden blonde, beautiful hair going up against the entire freaking army. A beautiful scene. But as they're coming, if you know the history, is the what is it the face? Was it Helen, the face that sits 1,000 sails, something like that?
Helen of Troy.
Yeah, Helen of Troy. And then there's a scene when he's getting his men ready, and he talks about I live by 3 code or something like that. There's a scene in there, and if you can share, I want to watch it really quick. I thought about this.
Do you have it pulled up?
Yeah, hold on. Let me make sure it's. Hold on, give me a second.
Sure.
2 seconds. And it's okay. So here it goes. Okay, the music is epic, by the way. Can anybody guess who directed this movie?
Who directed it? I knew this at one point.
I believe it's Ridley Scott.
Oh, that makes total sense. Sense.
Okay. Can you share, or do I do share?
I think you can share.
So you share my screen.
I think. Geez, I don't know Zoom very well.
So go to.
Do you not have a share screen options?
Host disable. Oh, you have to. Here, put me back as host, and I'll.
Or can I do multiple?
Oh, there you go. So, yeah.
Okay, do it. All right, bear with us.
Only 34 seconds, but it's.
All right, cool.
Can you see it?
I can't see it. Did you share?
Okay.
Is it working?
Okay, we should have figured this out. Oh, there we go. Here we go. I'm gonna share it with sound. Okay. Can you see it now?
Yes.
Okay,
So it
so this
started. Oh, there we go. Okay.
okay, so this is when the Agamemnon is which he's in the Bible, by the way. If nobody realized it, but
Agamemnon is in the
yeah,
Bible.
he's in
Oh,
the Bible. And he
okay.
talks about when the Persian came over and when he ruled everything. He was huge. And so okay. So here's a set scene. Can you hear it?
Yep, we got it. Oh yeah, this is
Pictures.
Hector.
Yeah.
Hector's speech.
All my life, I've lived by a code. And the code is simple. Honor the gods, love your woman, and defend your country.
There you go.
Troy is mother to us all. Fight for her!
Boys, mother to us all. Fight for her.
Honor the
Oh.
gods. Love your woman.
So you think you know Wix?
Sorry.
Do you
Oh,
really?
and there's an ad.
There we go.
What was it? Honor the gods. Love your woman.
Honor the gods, love your wife, and what did he say? Now I forgot.
Defend your country.
Defend your country.
Something like
And
that.
he goes, Troy is mother to us all. Protect Troy or something. So when you said that, I thought about that because that's Hector is a great character,
Oh
although
yeah.
the movie is really not accurate, but
It's
good
action
enough.
packed.
Well, the movie, if you know the movie, if you've seen it, right?
I've seen it. Yeah.
Yeah. So they made I know this is not movie review, but they made the brother like weak, like Orlando
Oh
Bloom.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, he's not at all in real life. He was actually a pretty awesome
Oh, okay.
soldier. He was
The
actually pretty
actual
strong,
story
and
of Troy. He
yeah,
was
but they for some reason they made him weak and all that stuff, and so
they had to
that's
make
one
it
of my
for better
favorite movies.
storytelling. How do you get a 3 hour movie if you don't have, conflict? And
How to what?
how do you get a 3 hour movie if you don't have someone that needs defending
Oh
and
yeah,
need
that's true.
you need someone to mentor someone else?
Yeah, I was wrong about the director. The director is Wolfgang Peterson.
Oh, okay.
So I
Okay.
don't know who that
I'm not
is.
sure who that is.
I think he did Speed.
We're gonna have to maybe we gotta talk about Troy on the other one.
Yeah, yeah. Anyways, but when you said patriotic and title of liberty, I thought about that scene because I thought it was pretty epic what Hector said, and so
All right, well let's set the scene, shall we, for the title of Liberty. So in Alma chapter 46 in the Book of Mormon, I'm just going to read the heading for a couple of this. Amaleki conspires to be king. So this is after the reign of judges, right? So they stopped having a king rule over them, and they decided that judges would be better. It's kind of like a representative government, kind of.
like a
So
parliament.
yeah, like a parliament. So they bring their issues to the judges, and then the judges rule how best to handle these issues of the people. So this Amaleki, who was, if I remember correctly, he was a priest of King Noah at one point,
Mm-hmm.
who was a wicked king, and then so he's conspiring with other Nephites. So it's still a time of ites, right? To he's politicking basically. He's politicking to get people on his side, and it causes a division among people.
People. He's trying
And
to sell. He's trying to sell something. This when I think of Alma 45 through like 46, 47,
mhm.
it's the two tales of two salesmen.
Yes,
One
I
is
like
trying to
that.
sell you one is trying to sell you something. The other one is trying to basically not sell you, but remind you the purchase that you already made. I don't know if that makes sense, but it's one of my
Yeah.
when I teach this lesson, one of my questions I always post on the board at the beginning of the class that says, what would Satan sell to you?
Mm. Oh, that's a good
So,
question.
well, this is exactly what it is. It's the tales
Yeah.
of the two salespeople who's trying to get you to one trying to get you this brand new toy. The other one's like, hey, the toy that you have is pretty precious.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
all
I
right, go
like
ahead.
that. I like the tale of two salesmen. So if we read in this chapter 46, it says that Amalickiah led people away by flatteries,
Mm-hmm.
which is
Good salesman.
really, and that's the way I read that. That's just the language in the scriptures to it's a synonym for lies.
Yep.
So that he said that if they would support him and establish him to be their king, he would make them rulers over the people.
Yeah.
So come follow me, and we'll be powerful. There were many in the church who believed in the flattering words of Malachi. Therefore, they dissented even from the church, and thus were the affairs of the people of Nephi exceedingly precarious and dangerous, notwithstanding their great victory, which they had had over the Lamanites in previous chapters. And their great rejoicings they had because of their deliverance by the hand of the Lord. Thus we see how quick the children of men do forget the Lord their God, yea, how quick to do iniquity and to be led away by the evil one. So you get flattered by someone convinces you, and we leave the church. I want to ask, is this something that we see in our day?
Oh yeah. There's
Yeah.
different types of flattering things that comes our way. My favorite, my funny thing is when you were reading, I thought about a movie called The Big Short.
Oh yeah.
Have you ever seen that? And if you,
Uh-huh.
it's very fascinating. My wife fell asleep.
It's like the economics of it is hard for
It's
me to
about the
follow.
housing industry and how
Yeah.
it
The
crashed in
2008.
2008, but it revolves around realtors or people who are selling properties and houses flattering you. You can do this. You don't even have to worry about your payment and all this. And
Oh
go,
yeah.
go watch the
Subprime
movie. They
lending,
sub
predatory
sub
lending.
lending and all that stuff, and then they broke it off to different thing. And anyways, it's very actually kind of confusing. But if you watch the movie, it explains it pretty well. But
Yeah.
it's like at the end, those people who bought all those homes or those houses lost their jobs and lost their property,
Mm-hmm.
and on top of that, they are stuck with those mortgages that they weren't supposed to have. And so, and I think similar to this, I think today's world, there's so many things that I guess something those there's so many things that can flatter us that will have us buy these new shiny toys.
Mm-hmm.
And social issues.
Yeah.
People call good evil and evil good type of
Mm-hmm.
thing.
We just read in Romans some of the things that Paul was
Huh?
talking to the Romans about. So we
Yeah,
just read in the Romans about some of the things that Paul was talking to them about.
yeah.
Just- yeah.
People misinterpret certain things in the Bible, or
Yeah.
or like just so many things that can get you away from the old toy that you already have. That's precious, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
Yeah. So I don't, this is not exactly on the same topic, but um I was thinking about the Jesus Revolution. Have you seen that?
So what?
The Jesus Revolution.
No, I haven't seen it.
So it's a movie that was released just this year.
Is it an
Um
anti movie?
no, it's about what, the 70s. So around the Vietnam. So a lot of the anti-war, like the hippies, right?
Mm.
There's this one guy, what's his name? Lonnie is the guy's name. So it's a true story. Like it's a biopic about this revolution that happened. Basically, what happened was, no, all these people were just searching for something, for truth, right? And so LSD and all these drugs were supposed to be enlightening. And this one guy was like, no, it's a lie. They're all a lie. And the real only truth is Jesus. And he
Yeah.
was a hippie. He didn't give up his lifestyle. He just didn't do drugs anymore.
No.
And he came to this preacher who was just traditional preacher in a traditional church. And they started this revolution where they just started bringing these people in that were just lost, looking for truth, and trying to find it in drugs or whatever else free love, right? So it made me think of that, and kind of where we're at today. How people are constantly talking about, I don't know, they're talking about what is real and what isn't real, um, and I can't help but feel like this revolution is going to happen again. At least I hope. But how are we prepared to handle it?
Well, if you go to verse 5 in chapter 46, this is saying who's writing this? Alma's writing this.
I think Moroni is writing
Moroni
this
is writing.
part.
Is
Yep.
this an account of people in Helaman's writing this, isn't it?
So I think most of this is Mormon's commentary on what was happening here.
So verse 5 says, and they that have been led by the flatteries of Amalickiah, that if they would support him and establish him to be their king, that he would make them rulers over the people. I think you already read that.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a reference if you go to 2 Nephi 2:29. You don't have to go, but it's similar to that as well, same promises. And I think that's, to me, it's a type of thing that Satan does. He offers something that seems good, seems profitable, it's better for you now at this time, but later it won't be as good at all. It will kick you back, bite you in the butt,
Yeah.
and leave you behind, or leave you hanging, as they call it. And so,
yeah,
they quickly forget, as you read already.
Yeah, how quick we are when something
let
enticing
me ask you
and
a question.
quick.
Why were they? See, but when I read this, it's so like I'm one of those guys. If I have an issue, I want to resolve it right away. I gotta do it right away. I gotta call certain people. And this, man, I wonder what the frustration and the patient Moroni had to have to respond to this, because it's not just like, oh wait, I can write a tweet and stuff. It takes him a long time. And I'm pretty sure he's sitting back and worrying, what if all these people actually goes with Amalickiah? I mean, I don't know if those thoughts come in his head, but I always wonder, because the timeline is, it takes them a while to get back to him. But it's not like you can just send a tweet out or a text or email.
Yeah.
You got
this movement kind of had to build before he really heard of it. Like, so Amalickiah had to convince a lot of people to start following him before Moroni, who was the commander at the time of the armies, before he heard about it.
Because I was reading, like, man, this isn't just happened. This, like you said, this has time. It had to grow. It had to. So there's a lot of patience and a lot of miscommunicating somewhere where no one's really didn't see it. Maybe they didn't realize it was a big deal.
Yeah.
Sounds familiar in history, doesn't it? Somebody who went in prison and read was it my crop was it?
Oh, Mein Kampf.
Mein Kampf. And then all of a sudden gets out of jail, start flattering people. And all of a sudden this Nazi region, or this they call themselves Nazi
National Socialist Party,
was a building. No one thought it was a big deal. Didn't take them serious.
Man.
And eventually almost ruled half the world.
Yeah.
So there's an element of that here. I think, like the talking, Malachi is talk. So you ever wonder what he was saying to these people?
Yeah, I mean, Mormon doesn't give a whole lot of detail.
No.
It's just like, so what do we know about him?
I don't see anywhere in here that talks about what he talks about.
He was a priest of King Noah.
Yeah.
So he was, let's see, what else does it say? The leader of those who were wroth against their brethren was a large and a strong man. So he was not someone that you would want to go up against in a fight.
Okay. So I'm going to give you something that I think it pertains to today's world.
Yeah, let's do
what
that.
What he's talking about. And that is in verse 7, right? It says, and there were many in the church who believed in the flattering words of Amalickiah. Therefore, they descended even from the church, and thus they were afraid of the people of Nephi, exceedingly precarious and dangerous, notwithstanding their great victory which they had over the Nephite or Lamanites, and they great rejoice their great rejoicing which they had because of their deliverance by the hand of the Lord. So for some reason they think that
they forgot
Malachi, they
basically.
forgot that it wasn't. They think that Malachi is one that like, but this has to do. It's almost like not racism, but like we're better than them.
I wonder. I think I gotta wonder if he was like he could have been like lifting them up, right? Like
Well, because
you
remember,
did this.
yes,
You won over the Lamanites.
but he
This was
also,
your armies.
but at this time, remember, Nephi and Nephi and the Lamanites are considered equal.
Yeah.
And but remember, in the past, they weren't. Nephi always thought they were better than Lamanites. That they were higher. They were hierarchy.
And that's what caused them to
dissension.
fall. Yeah.
I think this is exactly the same, but word in a differently. I think he's telling these people we're better than the Lamanites.
So I think it's bigotry.
Yeah.
Malachi is like, we're better and we should be better. And I'm gonna show you that we're better.
Yeah.
Just follow me and we'll show you.
It's exactly saying what Saint said. I will bring you back to Heavenly Father. But Christ says the other way. People tell me how when you run for president, how do you get out of debt? You raise taxes, but you're never going to run your campaign telling people,
yeah,
I'm going to raise taxes.
Yeah,
and
you're
we
not going to be honest.
It doesn't
about
work. It's the same way with Saint when he flattered the third of the host, say, "Hey, I'll get you back. I promise." And it didn't work that way. I think it's the same thing here in the sense of like, I'll get us back to where our standard was, and that we're a better people than the Lamanites, and we're going to show that. I don't know. I'm just reading between the words, but if we're liking like Satan's and how he flattered those people,
yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, I could see that. I could definitely see that. Well, let's get to Moroni because he's like the hero of this whole thing.
Let me ask you a question. Was he pissed?
He was angry. He was angry.
He was
not happy with this situation. And why was I've never really asked this. I've never asked myself this or really talked to anybody about this. Why was he mad?
Because I think he's mad is because he probably had more hope of these people. These are people who are descendants of people who, that are righteous people. It's like history.
Well, he had to have been. Imagine somebody young that was brought up during this conflict with the Lamanites, and they turned to God for support. They turn to God for deliverance, and he's brought up, and this is what he knows, and he's brought up to be the commander, pretty young, right? What is he, 25 at this time? He's commander of the armies at 25, so he's brought up, he's put in charge, and he's seen the power of God behind the armies, and then he hears about these people being pulled away from the church and the belief in their God and what God has done for them.
That's the key word. Is I think he's pissed because we just went through history of what God has done for us. Peace, there's no war and there's no suffering and all this battle, the battle they had, and yet they were victorious, and they forgot. I think he was pissed off because, you guys, just like I think anybody else, although we have hindsight 2020, we can look at Hitler and Stalin and all this dictatorship and like, oh, why did they do this? It's easy for us to say that.
Yeah.
But for him, he just said, he's basically, I think he's pissed. It's like, we just went through this.
Just went through this. This just happened. And you're so quick to forget. I think he recognizes that because that's kind of why he wrote what he wrote.
Yeah.
So he tears off he tears his coat and wrote on it. This is what he wrote. In memory of our God, our religion, our freedom, and our peace, our wives, and our children. He wrote that and he fastened it on the end of a pole. Not just that, he put it on his head plate, his breastplate, his shields, and girded his armor about his loins. And he took the pole which he had on the end thereof Oh, so he didn't ride it on all those places.
No, not
He
yet.
put it on the pole, and he got ready. He was like, this. I don't know. I just see him like getting up, prepped for war, armed and armored up, and then took to the streets. He bowed himself on the earth and he prayed mightily unto his God for the blessings of liberty to rest upon his brethren, so long as there should be a band of Christians remain to possess the land. It's inspirational. It's inspirational.
I wonder when he said the prayer. I mean, I know this is an account, but I wonder if he prays, it's like, forgive me for what I have to do, because he's going to do something that's pretty.
He's going to go to war against his brothers and sisters.
I don't think it's going to be. It's not a war. He's going to slaughter these guys if they don't.
This is a long war, though. This starts a long war.
Well,
because Amalickiah then goes to the Lamanites and he allies with them. Remember, and so then they go back and forth, right?
Although it's funny if he goes to them, but it's I wrote this in, and it's verse 48. It mentions, it says that as soon as Amalickiah had obtained the kingdom, he began to inspire the hearts of the Lamanites against the people of Nephi.
Yeah,
and I said, and I put it, he would look so different because he was a Nephite, and I put, it's like a black guy at a KKK meeting because he's a Nephite and the Lamanites are darker and he's white. And he's like, who is this guy?
That's funny. Like, no,
but yeah.
But you're right, though. Like, he does do some pretty drastic things. If we read further in the chapter, what happens? So,
well, he goes on the series of preaching too, though.
He does.
Not only he, I think he understands the he names this the title of liberty.
Yeah.
And I think, let's stay on this for a little bit. I think he understands, and for him, for the writer of this event, to describe every single thing that he's doing, the details of where he put in this and this, and it has meaning to this. I mean, it's such a cliche, but he has an armor of God on.
Mm-hmm.
And on top of that, he puts the title of liberty on top of this pole to signify that this is my covenant. He's teaching people, like, guys, if we honor these covenants, this land is for us.
Mm-hmm.
This land will be. He's worried. Not only he's worried about the soul of his brethren, those Christians that are being flattered away, he worries about the land, because he knows that this is a land that will have his people here for thousands of years, and that we need to preserve that right to be in this land. It's the same thing as today. It's so much easier to get into this country than it was when I first came to the country. And I was, I thank my grandparents who led the way. They came here legally. They had to have somebody sponsor them. It wasn't easy back in those days to come. And so they worked here. They were here from the 70s. They love America, man. They worked their butt off. They're immigrants, and once they can sponsor us, my mom and myself, my aunt and her kids came over. We never left. And so, like, I think people take that for granted in this country. Yeah. They think that, it's easy to come to this country and and all this and you know what? I know this is a gospel related, but it's not politics. But certain parties has made it too easy for our borders to to be crossed over. And so, but I think, to me, when he put this on and he wrote this signifies you are lucky to be in this land.
Yeah.
To have the freedom that you have. We just had a war over this freedom stuff, having freedom. And now you guys going to go back to being imprisoned by something. This is, even though this is physically, literally is happening, but there's a metaphor here about spirituality.
Yeah.
we want to be free. We want to be slave to somebody that has control over us.
Right.
And I think he knows that if we don't preserve this title of liberty, this honor our God, honor our wives, honor our country, and protect our country, that eventually that we can lose this land and be a slave to somebody who has different values than us.
Yeah. Yeah. And forgetting all of those that he wrote, it makes us a slave to every wind of doctrine.
Yeah.
I love the language here. Right. I love so in memory of our God, religion, freedom, peace, wives, and our children. Like how many like tradition, I hate to say this. No, I don't. Traditional values are in that. God, religion, freedom, peace, wives, children. Family is included in that. It's not just our country. It's not just our beliefs. It's not just our freedom to choose or peace that we've fought for. Our families are just as important to us as that. And like I said, traditional Christian values, all the things that are under attack in our day and age.
But remember this too, though. Even though he was pissed, he was mourning as well.
Yeah.
When he says he rent his coat, there's a significant in that in Hebrew. That
when you
rent your coat, is a signifier of sadness, of sorrow, regretful. And he's going to mention a story that has to do with that. So, which is actually pretty interesting that he went to that story. Because it has nothing to do with freedom. It had to do with
slavery
the entire time. But I think he wanted to point out that even though Joseph was a slave, he was free. In the sense of of his conscience, of his soul, of his religion, and all that stuff. And so, anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself.
No, you're good. No, I think that was a good segue, and I think that's an important part, right? Like, so he tears his coat in remembrance of not only all that he wrote, but of their lineage and everything that they, as a remnant of Joseph, went through. Like their whole lineage went through to get to the point that they're at, to have the freedom and the peace and the liberty that they have. Yeah. So let's get to what happens before that. So Moroni says, whoever will maintain this title upon the land, let them come forth in the strength of the Lord and enter into a covenant that they will maintain their rights and their religion, that the Lord God may bless them. And then they entered into covenant for these things. But there was an action as part of the covenant.
Yeah.
The people came running together with their armor girded. So just like Moroni did, rending their garments in token or as a covenant that they would not forsake the Lord their God. Or in other words, if they should transgress the commandments of God or fall into transgression and be ashamed to take upon them the name of Christ, the Lord should rend them even as they had rend their garments. What do you think? What do you think of that?
I'll tell you this though. Is this endowment?
Ooh.
Is this their endowment?
It could be.
Because I feel like they're already baptized.
Yeah, these are members of the church. They already
made that covenant. And he made them do another covenants with them. Although honestly, we can make covenants with God. If you really want something, you make a covenant with him. You can make a personal covenant with him. So
yeah,
this seems a little bit more important than a personal covenant.
Yeah.
So I always wonder that.
Yeah. Man, and so I want to kind of get to well, let's continue through this. Do you want to tell the story that he shares about Joseph?
I mean, we can read it.
Yeah, let's read it.
But it's not so. Hey, Moroni said,
"Paraphrase
behold,
even."
what verse? Verse 23.
Yeah.
Moroni said unto them, Behold, we are remnants of the seed of Jacob. Yea, we are a remnant of the seed of Joseph, whose coat was rent by his brethren into many pieces. Yea, and now behold, let us remember to keep the commandments of God, and our garments shall be rent by our brethren. Well, that's interesting. And we will be cast in prison and be sold and be slain. There's an entrapment right there that we're talking about, is that Malachi is selling you something, but if we don't, he's gonna rip our. I think he's saying here is like he's gonna be like those brethren that he's gonna keep ripping our clothes off, and eventually we are gonna be a prisoner.
We're gonna be a prisoner to him. We're gonna be slave to them.
Yea, let us preserve our liberty as the remain of Joseph. That's an interesting line because Joseph had no liberty. He had no liberty since birth. Anyways, yea, let us remember the word of Jacob before his death. For behold, he saw that the part of remnants of the coat of Joseph was preserved and had not decayed. And he said, Even as the remnant of garments of my son hath been preserved, so shall the remnant of my seed, of the seed of my sons, be preserved by the hands of God, and be taken unto himself, while the remains of the seed of Joseph shall perish, even as remnant of his garments.
So Moroni is saying that they are the remnant that Jacob was talking about. They're the remnant of the seed of Joseph that was preserved.
This is where I think he's going to confuse a lot of people if we don't explain what he's talking about. Because if you read it, he went from Joseph to Jacob, back to Joseph, back to Jacob.
Yeah.
He's all over the place with this one. Come on, Moroni.
He's upset.
He is upset.
He's ready. He's just like, come on, let's remember like where we came from.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I feel that same pull to remember not just the lineage of Joseph and Israel, but even as a nation, like remember where we came from, what we were founded on. And I feel it's the same principles of freedom of religion, freedom of speech. And I feel like those things are not as valued as they once were.
I think and that's a good point. I also think that he's using this example is because we talk about Joseph, and his brethren is like ripping him apart, like his coat. And because of that reason, because of the result of ripping the coat, they threw him to the freaking into a hole, and then they sold him. What kind of brother is that, man? Like, leave him if you leave him dead, let him leave dead. But no,
brothers from different mothers.
We're gonna sell this guy.
Yeah,
we're gonna sell him. Which was the blessing in the sky for
for all of them,
for all of them. Because if that didn't happen, they would have perished. And it's because of the famine, 7-year famine, and so which is kind of ironic. Like, blessing in some way from a tragedy event, and I think he wants people to remember that. Look, we don't want to be like Joseph, even though he was faithful and he was fine. But why put ourselves in that situation? Why put ourselves in jail or in prison when we know that there are other ways that we don't have to be that way? And so I think that's one of the reasons I think he used that as a
and I think it's good for those that are still believers. I mean, using history from the scriptures is always appropriate. Let's continue on a little bit. So what happened after all they made this covenant and they kind of chased away I don't know if it's here or later, they're called the kingmen, but Amalickiah and some of his people that were trying to raise up.
Verse 33.
Yeah.
So Moroni came. Is this the capital?
Zarahemla?
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 He comes marching in. Man, this is the Jesus that the Jews were waiting for.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is the type of the savior that they want.
The military leader that
Army,
they
military.
Yep.
Yeah. He comes into the capital. I'm gonna call it the capital because that just sounds cool.
Yeah.
March in and said, "Get the heck out." Start. He basically lined up. You with them or you with us? If you with us, I'm putting you down. And there's a now you're like, whoa,
Yeah.
whoa, Moroni, what's going on? You can try to convince them, but but and when you read this, you're like, wait, why did he make this decision right away? But you have to understand, folks, that the timeline is very
Yeah.
important. These people weren't just converted to what's his name,
Amalickiah.
Amalickiah. They they've been serving him
Yes.
as the king
They've been trying to build him up as king.
for a long time because
Mm-hmm.
it. Remember, there's no cars. Moroni didn't get on the bus and take his army on the
He
bus and go.
marched his army.
We had to march, and it takes days, maybe weeks, maybe months. Army, so I think Moroni already knew what's in those hearts of those people that they never want to go back to what they were preaching about. Um, there's a great um the Amish people has this great tradition for their kids. They raise their kids up to they're like 19 or 18
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
adults, and they've been working in the farm, churning the butter, doing the bread, making all that stuff, riding the horsey. But they gave them an opportunity at 18 to go out and do whatever they want.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And do whatever they want. They can party, they can do drugs, they can have girlfriends, they can do whatever they want to see if they want to come back to the Amish life.
Yep.
And that would scare me as a father if I was Amish, like to send my kids because the world is so flattering. Like, why would you come back?
Oh yeah, and the emotional and physical pleasures that you can experience that are temporary but still enticing.
Okay. Well, this is gonna shock you, Dave. 80% comes
Go
back. So now I asked you why when I first read this, first time I read it, I was like, why didn't he just talk to him? Like, guys, come back. He said no, because you know why, folks? You don't leave evil seed in the pot of in the pot of plant. You know, you want the good seed to be there.
Yeah,
but if you know those bad seed aren't gonna do anything and they're gonna always gonna be contagious because or contention towards other seed, you root them out.
Yeah.
You root them out.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is when I read this, I think of, treason.
Yeah.
Right.
This is treason.
This is treason against a free government.
But remember, Moroni isn't a prophet. He's a general.
Yeah. Yeah. And he's doing so. I mean, we can't really apply our thinking and laws to this, right?
Yeah.
Because this is their society. And Moroni did what he had to do to maintain peace. And sometimes that people die in order to maintain peace. And that's what happens.
Let me read verse 35.
Yeah, exactly. That's the one I was looking at.
And I put this on the little side note says he's not messing around.
No, no messing around here.
And it came to pass that whomsoever of the Amalekites, I can't say that word. What the heck is that word?
Amalekites?
Yeah. Those people that were not entered into the covenant to support the cost of freedom. It's not even about the cost of religion.
It's the cause of freedom.
It's freedom of the land. This is important to him because he knows that this is the land of inheritance, and if we don't keep it righteously enough that it will be handed over to another group of people.
Yep.
Because he's read the history, folks, the Jaredites. He knew those were the people who came here first, and yet they weren't good people, and the land was handed to somebody else. So this is very important to Moroni, because he knows that this can this can happen again. History can repeat itself, and that they might maintain the free government, and he caused them to put to death.
Yeah.
And there were but few who denied the covenant of freedom.
Yeah.
Wait, how many? I want to know the number.
Few. Not many. Not many.
And then on top of that, verse 36, he goes, and it came to pass that he caused that the liberty of title of liberty, be hoisted upon every tower, which was in all the land, which was possessed by the Nephites. And thus Moroni planted the standard of liberty among the Nephites. He's like, he's General Patton's marching into Bastogne, taking all the credit. No, that's a different story. But he's not kidding. He's not messing around. He's like, guys, I'm rooting every evil thought, every evil deeds that this land possess, and I'm rooting it out.
So, and what was the result? How long did he maintained peace? By doing this, peace was maintained for 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
I can't think of a time in the history of the United States of America that it has been peaceful for anywhere close to 4 years.
Wait, is this 4 years?
Yeah. So 38. Even for the space of the 4 years, they did have much peace. Did they have much peace and rejoicing in the church?
Yep.
I didn't even know if like there's like we talk about this kind of stuff, and I don't know if there's like what is described as peace in this verse in the church today. Because there's not today.
No.
But 4 years where they were just rejoicing and happy to be believing in Christ and serving and preaching. There were some who did die with fevers, which some see like just because of where they lived. The God blessed them with plants that helped them to, remove disease. There were many who died with old age, and those who died in the faith of Christ are happy in him, as we must needs suppose. Go ahead.
No. I think now this is literal. How do we apply that to individual? As a group of people, he wanted to make sure that they know this is the way. But I think when you read this, people might say, "Well, isn't he forceful?" Well,
he gave them a choice.
He gave them a choice. He didn't force them to do anything. And he had the right to be in that capital. It was his city. He was the one that got that city back for the Nephites, for the Nephites. And so, I think the lesson we can learn from him, just like, if you're not for this cause, I'm putting you to death. I think for us to apply that is just our everyday life. What is it that we are? What is it that Satan is trying to sell to you? And if he succeeded, can you root it out? Can you put to death that stuff that you have?
Yeah, I like that. I like that.
Because let's be real. Satan sells us a lot of things. And let's be real, we buy it from him.
Mm-hmm.
We do. We
mm-hmm.
will. Because we're all, the natural man kicks in, folks. You believe it or not. People say, "Oh, we're born as a sinner." I disagree with those people. When you sin, it means you're accountable. It means you know better.
Mm-hmm.
Baby can't know better, guys.
Yeah.
And that's when he starts selling you stuff that you don't need, but yet he might entice you because you might need it now. and eventually it's
or
gonna
it seems like it takes care of a problem,
problem, and so
or at least not knowingly it covers up a problem, covers up a negative emotion, um, and then it becomes habit, and then it becomes addiction,
then it
um,
becomes something even worse.
and becomes something worse, and it
And so
destroys
it could
family
lead
and
down.
relationships.
So
Um,
so verse 35 is your formula how to combat those. It's not easy though,
no, it's not easy.
because now, and you know why it's not easy? I'm pretty sure it wasn't easy for Nephi to put those people to death. Or not Nephi, Moroni.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I think there's part of that, of this verse, that has people say, "Oh, he just did it like cold hearted." I don't think so, folks. I think he cared about these people, but if they're not willing to covenant with the Lord, and for this, there's no there's we can't have that, those, that thought of like, oh, maybe I could work, maybe, but it's either you're with God or you're not.
yeah, yeah.
Now it's not that
I
simple,
love that.
but
Well, it's simple. It's not
it's simple,
easy.
but it's not easy. Yeah.
It's not easy.
Yeah.
It's not easy to root out the things that keep pulling us back.
Wow.
And we have to really get to a point where we're ready to give those things up, fully give those things up, if we really want to change. Um, I man, I don't think I've ever actually related this to me individually the way you did.
Well, it has to be, or else why is it in here?
Yeah, no, I love that. I love that.
And
Um,
when I
si
say,
vis pacem parabellum, Latin for if you want peace, prepare for war. So if I want peace, personal peace, I need to be prepared to go to war with my natural man.
yeah.
Is that what that's kind of what I'm getting from what you're saying?
The desire that you have to have, holy cow, the desire. There's a quote from a movie called Tar. Um, Crap, I don't have that quote. It would have been my number one movie of the year last year, but it did. No one, she didn't. You guys, did you ever seen Tar?
Uh-uh.
Yeah, no one does. I can't find a quote,
What's it
but
about?
it's about the desire of wanting something, and wanting that, and the desires, you desire so much that you'll lose your identities to attain that, that
Hmm.
you'll mold yourself into something that is not you. Your attitude, your perception, your everything is molded to that one passion, and that you want it so bad that you're willing to lose your identity for it. I think, to me, now that might seem like narcissist, or like like you don't care about anybody else. Well, if you watch the movie, she's a very difficult person and a difficult character to like. She is one of those, she wants to obtain greatness, and sometimes losing your identity comes with that. I think it goes with the same thing as, if you desire the things that Satan is trying to sell you, like these people who Amakai is doing, if you desire that, you're going to lose your identity. And they
Hmm.
did. They
Mm-hmm.
lost that identity of who they are, because they desired that something that Satan gave them for a time being. Now, that quote can be positive or negative,
Mm-hmm.
however you want
Yeah.
to look at it. But if you apply it to this things, the desire of their hearts were not with God and the liberty and the freedom of religion, of freedom of land. It's desire to be a slave, a desire to be a prisoner of something that you think is good for right now. And because of that reason, I think Moroni knew that their identity is not, their identity has been lost, and that they're, I don't know, maybe he thinks that there's no hope for them to come back.
I mean, he gave him a chance.
He did give him a chance.
Gave
And
him a
so,
chance. And they're not many who chose
no,
not to. Um,
no. It's
and what do
so,
we, yeah, I guess how far are we as individuals prepared to let that go before we get that opportunity, before we get to the point where we have to make a choice. And some of us will go farther than others. I'll be honest. Like I've let that get to a point where I needed to get a smack on the back of the head by someone like Moroni, my proverbial Moroni, smack me on the back of the head and like, what are you doing? Here's your choice. I hope not everybody gets to that point.
I hope no one gets put to death. I think they need to choose. Their second, Moroni gave him a second chance, and they still didn't want it.
Yeah,
you can't do anything with anybody that don't want the second chance.
Yeah, and that's exactly what he fought. He was fighting for, was that their chance to choose.
Yeah,
this is what he wanted. He wanted you to be able to choose, not to take away other people's agency.
And then America decided to go over to the KKK meeting. he decided to take himself back to the Lamanites.
Oh man, that's some shady stuff he does, doesn't he?
So in verse 1 and 2, I put this down. It says,
this is 47.
Malachi misses the mark of the hearts of the Lamanites. So I think at this point, if you read it, he goes back and he gains. I don't think he gains control yet. Record with him in the wilderness, for he went with him and went up to the land of Nephi among the Lamanites. So these are people who are I don't know if they're the anti-Nephi Lehi.
No, they're not these people.
But they already converted at this point, right?
No, because at this point the Lamanites, they had possession of the land of Nephi.
That's right. Never mind. Okay.
Yeah.
So he goes up and then stir up the Lamanites to anger against the people of Nephi, and so much that the kings of the Lamanites sent a proclamation throughout all his land of people that they should gather themselves together. I have a question.
Yeah.
What the heck did he say to them?
Right. So he was with the Nephites, right? And he's like, whatever he says to them to flatter them, we're better than the Lamanites.
No,
maybe he went to the Lamanites and was like, they said they're better than you.
But I mean, you would think the Lamanites king would be smart enough to be like,
who's this Nephite? Who is this guy?
Let me talk to my general. They said that we're beneath them. Should we go to war? No, there's got to be more than this.
Yeah.
What is it? I want to know, because it says stir up. But what did he say? I think the Lamanites know. And here's the part where I think he missed the mark of the hearts of Lamanites, because verse 2, all the Lamanites says, and it came to pass that when the proclamation goes forth, they were afraid.
They were afraid. Well, they were afraid of the king.
That they also feared they feared to go to battle against the Nephites, that they should lose their lives, and it came to pass they would not. They would not.
The more part of them would know. They're like, yeah, no, we're afraid of you, but we're more afraid of the Nephites.
I think this is where like Malachi realized, he thinks, oh, if I can just go like to their side and just tell them this, they want to fight, because their reputation is that these are ferocious people, bloodthirsty, ferocious people, and they will, all they want to do is kill. Well, he missed the mark. He's like, wait a minute, they don't want to fight. they're tired of getting their butt kicked by the Nephites, and he completely misjudged of their a state of mind and the state of heart that they're doing, that they're trying to figure out right now. And so, and this is would not, and then most of them would not obey the commandment of the king. It's like, what? And
the king was like, I don't know how to convince him. Here, Malachi, you do it.
Yeah, he's something else, man.
He is something else, man. Well, we're short on time.
Yep.
Closing thoughts.
I'll give you I'll go first, since you have the flag. You can. When we read about the Tower of Liberty, you automatically think of patriotism, love for your country, honor the gods, love your wife,
and defend your country.
and defend your country. The mother of Troy Troy is a mother to us all. I love that line. Anyways, but when I read this, I get it. Freedom of the freedom in this country. We are blessed to live in, as much as what's going on in the world today, United States still is the greatest country to live in. We can't say we have the freedom because everybody else does have freedom too.
Right.
Only maybe a couple of other countries that doesn't, like China. But the freedom that we have here is different. We have the right to worship according to our conscience. Mm-hmm. We have the right to bear arms. We have the right to free speech within reason, reasonable. You can't just go out and slur stuff out. And even then, I'm like, well, if they can do it, they can do it. I mean, there's nothing I can do about it. But the Tower of Liberty means more than just freedom for the country. Mm-hmm. Represent the flag that you represent. I love Captain Moroni. I think he not only he was pissed off, and he was allowed to be pissed off, but there were moments when he was heartbroken for these people. He rent his coat. That's the sign of heartbroken for these people. He felt bad and sad that these people have forgotten who their God was, have forgotten that this God gave us this land to live, to prosper in this land. And he made sure that they know that this is that land. And so, but it's also has a bigger meaning to me, is that individually, how do we better ourselves, in the sense of if Satan's trying to sell you something, the question I asked of you to ask yourself, what is he selling me? And if this sale is worth the money that I'm willing to pay for. Because if you have to first of all, you don't even have to go to that question. Because if you have to guess yourself, I'm pretty sure it's not a good idea. but we do have the natural man in us, mm-hmm. and we do get curious to a certain extent, where we're like, maybe this will benefit me better than before, or something like that. What is Satan trying to sell you? And if he succeeded on selling you that thing, how do you root that out? You put it to death, like Captain Moroni did. And so, I love this chapter.
Thanks, man. Yeah. Same. I love this. Just in closing, I'm just going to read one more time what Captain Moroni wrote on the title of Liberty. In memory of our God, our religion, our freedom, and our peace, and our wives and our children. And to relate that to myself, I would just change a couple words. In memory of my God, my religion and freedom, and my peace, my wife, and my children. It's got me wanting to raise my own title of liberty, so that I can have these things in my memory. Because when the trying times come, and like you said, the natural man starts fighting and Satan tries selling me something. If I have my own title of liberty raised, where I can remember these things and be motivated to put the natural man to death, then I can really have a good relationship with my God. I love it. I love the character. I love Captain Moroni's, his integrity, his courage. The courage that is not seen a lot these days. And no. Grateful for anyone that has the courage to stand up the way that Captain Moroni does. And I can only hope that I can have that same courage someday. and in the face of all of the trials that I face personally, the trials that I may face professionally, that I may face spiritually, that I can stand up with the same courage that Moroni had.
I like that.
Well, we'll
the tales of two salesmen.
The tale of two salesmen. I love it. Love it. Great discussion. Thanks for talking through this with me and helping me see it in a different light. We'll figure out what we'll do next time. I don't know. Leave a comment if there's something that we need to tease out or simplify.
Dude, what's your title of liberty?
What is my title of liberty?
No, that's the question I'm posing to our audience.
I like that. Yeah.
What is your title of liberty? There you go.
I like that. Yeah, leave a comment if you want to share. Otherwise, just ask yourself, what is my title of liberty? Until next time, keep it simple.